Why were we put here? I think everyone wants to know, why were we put here? Why are we on earth?
My purpose in life is to live a normal life, to be a citizen, a productive citizen.
Intentar pasar por la vida de la manera más desapercibida posible.
I don't fully know why I'm here, but I enjoy that. I enjoy knowing that, because then that creates endless possibilities for myself.
I would like to make a difference, even if it's only in one life. I'd prefer to do more.
Because I think the meaning of life, in my opinion, is to find something that you're passionate about and use that passion to make the world around you a better place.
Some of the big questions in life Google can't answer. And where do we go with these questions? I think the church is a perfect place to ask these questions and to discuss them and to open this up. And over the next 7 weeks, I want to invite you to think about 7 questions. And we've been talking about this and leading up to this for a couple of weeks. But this first week, this first question I want to ask is, does life have a purpose? Does life have a purpose? See, this is a big question that's been around for a long time. It's not just something that showed up today. And the answer to this question filters into everything that we know. Does life have a purpose affects where do I live? Where do I spend my money? Who do I invest in? What relationship should I have? What should I do with my time? Does life have a purpose? Does life have a purpose in general? Or specifically my life, does it have a purpose? I am one person and 7 billion people on this spinning globe. Does my life matter? Have you ever wondered about that question? Have you ever thought about how big the world is and wondered, are you significant at all? Why am I here? Does life have a purpose? It's a question that I too have wrestled with many times. Many times growing up, and you know, some of you know a little bit about my story, and growing up in the fatherless home with my mom that was striving to just keep the lights on and to feed us. And wondering, why did things work out like this? What is the purpose of all this? And I wrestled with it. And I pray, my hope is that this morning, maybe you're not all in on this God thing. Maybe you're still wrestling with God and Jesus and the Bible and the Holy Spirit and what it means. I want you to know that I hope that this is a safe place for you to wrestle with it. I want you to wrestle with it here. In a place that's not going to judge you. In a place that I'm not here to convert you. But to open up this discussion, open up this conversation about God. Maybe one that you haven't had. I mean, it's nice to have an intelligent conversation, don't you think? It's nice. Even when you don't agree with the other person, you can still listen to them with respect and dignity as a human person, when we all get to choose what we believe. Does life have a purpose? As I said before, this question it's not new. It's an old question. In fact, 3,000 years ago, there was a man named Solomon. He was the king, the third king of ancient Israel. He's got 3 books in the Bible that are attributed to him, the books of wisdom, and we're going to focus on one of them today. And so if you have your Bible or the Bible in front of you, the house Bible, you can turn to the book of Ecclesiastes. It's in the Old Testament. We're going to be skimming through the whole book. We're going to start in verse 1. And Solomon in this book is wrestling with the big questions of life. Just like us, he's wondering, what's it all for? As Noah Gunderson answered or ended his song with, man, Jesus, maybe we could meet and talk and work this out, and then maybe I'll know what it's all about. It's a question that's been asked for thousands of years. Why are we here? What is the purpose? And so we open up to the book of Ecclesiastes, and Solomon, who is wrestling with this is how he starts the book. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. Oh, talk about being a motivational speaker, right? He says it's meaningless. Meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Sounds like a total Debbie Downer right there, right? And this word vanity, it can mean meaningless, but actually in the Hebrew word is havel. Can you say that? Havel. You got to say it with like a little phlegm in your mouth, all right? So come on, let's try it again. 1, 2, 3. Havel. There you go. Right? And havel, it translates into vapor. Vapor or mist or fog, like something that is here one moment and gone the next. Got this really high-tech device here. So, a mist, right? Let's see if I can open this up a little bit. There we go. A mist. First it's there, and then it's gone. And that's what Solomon's saying life is like. He's saying life is like a vapor. It's all vain. One minute it's here, the next it's gone. It's funny, you ever thought like throughout the year, like, oh my gosh, it's already going to be February. Where did January go? Right? The new year just started. It seems like Christmas was yesterday. And we're already going in the second month of 2019. Sometimes it just goes by so fast. Or you blink and your kids are grown up. Right? You look at someone else's kids and you remember when your kid was that small. Vanity of vanities. And the thing about the vapor, like there's a couple things. One is it's kind of cool, you know, when you look at it and you see the swirl and the light. It reminds me of, I don't know, especially if you're a boy. I don't know, I think we're drawn to stuff like that, right? You ever seen a boy just kind of do something just because he liked it, right? Kind of like this. Here's mine. I love this one. It's kind of like bubbles. I like bubbles. My son Daniel loves bubbles too. I promised him that I would give this to him when I was done, right? He's sick at the house right now, so he's missing all the fun. But you ever seen a baby try to grab a bubble? Right? It's pretty awesome. They are just enamored with it. They see it and they're like, oh my gosh, it's a ball floating in the air. And they try to grab it, and what happens? Pops. He's saying life is like that. It's like a vapor. You think you can grab it, but you can't. You think it's something you can hold on to, but you can't. It's fleeting. It's there 1 second and gone the next. The other thing about like mist or fog or vapor, you know, out here in Homer Glen, it can get like that where there's a thick fog that settles. And when you're driving through that, it's pretty scary, right? Sometimes you pull over. Or if you're me, you just keep going, right? But sometimes the fog or the mist can be so thick that you can't see clearly. You can't see clearly, and he's saying that life is like that mist, like that vapor, like that fog. And he's recounting in this book that he wrote all the things that he has tried and chased to find the answer to the question, what is life about? What is the purpose? The first thing that I see that he pursues here is the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge. The pursuit of wisdom and knowledge. Have you ever been to like a great conference or read a great like maybe leadership book or something like that? Anybody? You know, some people are like conference junkies. They just like going to conferences after conferences after conferences, right? But after a while, you have this question like, okay, well, what's next? I've been here, I've heard this over, and then all the conferences start sounding alike, and the books just seem like redundant, right? Like this, that's the same thing this guy wrote. And we wonder, well, what else? Ecclesiastes chapter 12, you don't have to turn there, but at the end of this book, what Solomon says is, my son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. I think these are like most students' like life verse, right? Books, there's tons of them, and studying, it's meaningless. We don't have to do that. But Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 16 and 18 is where we'll pick up here. And Solomon says, I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness of folly. I perceived that this also is but striving after wind. See, Solomon made it his business to be the smartest guy in the room. He was the big fish in a small pond. He was the big kahuna. He knew it all. He was known as, he's still known as the wisest man ever. Because surely that's what the purpose of life is, to know all things and to be wise in all matters, right? Who here wants to be dumb? Nobody. Right? We all attain for knowledge. At some level, you need to know how to do certain things. But what about the big questions in life? Solomon made it his prize to know. To know. But he says here at the end of verse 17, I perceive that this also is but striving after the wind. Striving after something that you cannot grab. Striving after something that is there 1 second and gone the next. He made every pursuit to find meaning, happiness, and contentment in what he could learn and attain through knowledge and wisdom. And maybe today that's where you're at. I'm the kind of guy I hate surprises. I do not like surprises. Surprise birthday parties, surprise anything. I don't like it. All right? So please hear me when I say that. All right? But some people love surprises. And the reason I hate surprises is because I really want to know what's coming. I don't like to not know what's coming down the pipe, if you know what I mean. I'm a guy that likes to be prepared, so if I know what's coming, then I can prepare. Right? And some people, they don't care. They love surprises. Oh my gosh. That's not me. But, you know, they love it. But maybe you can relate. Maybe you're the person that needs to know. In fact, before I became a believer in Jesus Christ, my attitude was, I was more like doubting Thomas. Well, unless I see the wounds in Jesus' hands, I'm not going to believe. I'm not going to just believe some blind faith because my mom told me to. Because she took me to church when I was a kid. I'm kind of glad I had that stance. Because all I would have is really good religion. I wouldn't have a relationship with God. Maybe that's you this morning. Maybe you can relate to Solomon in pursuing knowledge, knowing how this world works, knowing everything you can know, thinking that that will satisfy you. But in his exhausting pursuit of this, you'd be surprised, but he says he found it to be vain, a vapor, vanishing. Wisdom and knowledge ultimately is chasing the wind. He says it's just a mist. It's just a mist. The second thing that I see that Solomon pursues or chases, it says Solomon chases meaning in pleasure. He chases meaning in pleasure. He indulged in pleasures. Imagine indulging in every form of pleasure, right? I mean, anything you want. It's funny, when we started the fast 21 days ago, a friend of mine, he says, you know what my fast is going to be? My fast is going to be from resistance. I am not going to resist anything. I'm going to do whatever I want. Most of the time, I'm holding back. No, I can't do that. I can't eat that. I can't do that. But I'm not going to do it. I'm a fast from resistance. I'm going to eat everything. I'm going to do everything. Right? He was joking, but I thought it was funny. Well, Solomon lived that. I'm going to indulge in everything. Imagine that. That's crazy. And it's all good at first, I guess, until the next morning. Maybe the fog and the mist, right, settles in, reminds you that was not as satisfying as you thought it was going to be. And so you just keep chasing it the next day. In Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, Solomon said, I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? I search with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold of folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. Sought pleasure. He's chasing purpose. And he went headlong into seeking pleasure, but in the end, he said it was a vapor. Kind of like ice cream. Who here likes ice cream? Anybody? Who here likes cookie dough ice cream? Anybody? Okay. You guys are my best friends. Okay? I love cookie dough ice cream, right? Cookies and cream is good too. But I love cookie dough, and so cookie dough once in a while is great. Right? I mean, you have dinner, you have a nice snack on a hot day, maybe going there. I love Mario's Italian Ice right there in Little Italy, right? Anybody been there? Right? And sometimes our family, on a hot day, we'll take the drive, man. We'll go all the way over there just to get this cup of Italian ice, right? Oh, yeah, I was there last year. I go there every year. Right? But what if I had ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What if every meal I had was this? I know some of you are like, well, I could do that. That'd be great. I couldn't, right? Brain freezes alone would prevent me from doing that, but it would get disgusting to me. I used to work at this place, and I'm going to lose friends right now, but that's okay. I used to work at a clinic, and right across the street from the clinic was a really well-known pizzeria. I'm not going to say who it is, but, and every meeting we had, every meeting, they catered from this place. So we had this pizza all the time. For almost a decade, ate this pizza over and over again. Do you think I like this pizza? Nope. I never order this pizza. To me, it's like eating a frozen pizza. I don't really care for it. I'll eat it if it's there, but other than that, I don't want to spend money on it for sure. I'm tired of it. When you have it so much, it's not a good thing anymore. And Solomon chased pleasures and left nothing in his pursuit, left nothing from himself. He indulged in pleasures. There were no limits. First of all, let me tell you this. Do you know how many wives Solomon had? 700 wives. 700. And if that wasn't enough, he had 300 concubines on top of that. He is a crazy man. Crazy man. Right? My life is consumed with one. But I love you, babe. You're awesome. Solomon knew how to party, I guess. Threw a big one every day. It's called a wedding. Just playing. This is a classic piece here. In the Screwtape Letters. Anybody ever read that, the Screwtape Letters? We have the correspondence between a wise old demon and his nephew, Wormwood. So therefore, remember, the enemy in this story is God, and our father would be Satan. Listen to me. Listen to this as I read it. Never forget that when we are dealing with any pleasure in its healthy and normal and satisfying norm, we are, in a sense, on the enemy's ground. I know we have won many a soul through pleasure. All the same, it is his invention, not ours. He made the pleasures. All of our research so far has not enabled us to produce one. All we can do is encourage humans to take the pleasures which our enemy has produced at times or in ways or in degrees which was forbidden. Hence, we always try to work away from the natural condition of any pleasure to that which is least natural, least redolent or reminiscent of its maker, and least pleasurable. An ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure is the formula. C.S. Lewis from the Screwtape Letters. The truth is, many live this way. I know I've definitely fallen into that mindset that seeking what will make me happy, what I think will make me happy, is the answer to my life's purpose. In fact, right, even in the videos that we watched in the weeks coming, what does life have? What is the meaning of life? What is it to be happy? Right? You ever heard anybody say that? Have you ever thought that? I just want to live a happy, comfortable, peaceful life. The American dream. Right? And we believe, we fall into this mindset that the purpose of life is attaining those things. But Solomon says pleasure is like a vapor. He says it's vain. It's meaningless. The next thing I see that he chased was great accomplishments and wealth. Great accomplishments and wealth. Read with me in chapter 2, verses 4 through 9. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools for which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the children of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. So he's saying, I sought wisdom and got to the top, and it wasn't enough. So then I went and I said, I'm going to indulge in pleasures, and I got everything I could ever think of. I do whatever I want. There is nothing that I leave empty or undone, and that wasn't enough. You ever built a temple? Right? You ever built temples or a pond or a forest? You ever built great structures? Except for maybe Bob. Man, Solomon had great accomplishments. He had great accomplishments. Solomon had it all. And if anyone should be content or happy, it would be this guy, right? I mean, doesn't it sound like he had everything? He built great structures for himself, including the temple. He planted vineyards and gardens and pools. And, oh, by the way, how could he do this? You know why? Because he was like bougie rich. Bougie rich, you know what that means? Like rich. He had money on top of money. And he planted all of this stuff. This was an everyday thing for him. He said in verses 10 and 11, he says, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind. All was vanity and striving after the wind. And there was nothing to be gained under the sun. I think about all the people that have strived. I see it in their life. There was a guy that would play basketball with us on Tuesday nights here. He was a really sharp guy, really smart. He could play ball. He was athletic, good-looking guy, young. He was climbing to the top in his business, and he was so proud of that. But you know what? Every single time I talked to him, he was miserable. There wasn't a smile on his face. There was no joy. He had money. He had cars. He had women. He had everything a young guy could dream about, right? He was never happy. And every single time I talked to him, and I would talk to him about his family, and his dad wasn't in the picture. In fact, his dad, I think, we got to talk, and my 8th grade basketball coach, I think, was his father, which is crazy. And his mother was my principal. I didn't even know that. But he wasn't happy. I wonder, and then when it crashes, when it falls apart, when you get to the top and realize, this isn't it. This isn't. It's as if seeking, it's like a craving that can't be satisfied. C.S. Lewis said it this way: an ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure. An ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure. It feels good at the moment, but then it's gone. Jim Carrey said this, comedian, actor. I love this quote. He says, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer." Solomon chased wisdom and knowledge. He chased pleasure. He chased after feeling confident, but through what he could do, his accomplishments and his wealth. And he says it's vain. And finally, he comes to this conclusion in chapter 12 of Ecclesiastes, the end of this book. In chapter 12, verse 13. After searching for all of these things, searching and chasing all of these things in his life, he comes to the end of this book and he says this: "The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil." Fear God. Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. This word fear isn't like a cowering fear. This fear is a reverent fear. Fear God is the all of God. The awe of God. When I look at his creation, when I look at the stars, when I look at everything that he's created, including knowledge and pleasure and wealth and the ability to create, I marvel at a God who can do that. It's a reverent awe, not a fearful fear. You'll experience this in the life when you realize how he wired you and how he designed you to live. And living the life that God designed, and until then you remain restless. I heard it said, I think it was Mark Twain who said this. He said the two greatest days in your life are one is the day you were born, and the second day is when you found out why. The day you were born and the day you find out why. Two greatest days in your life. And an ancient philosopher, Christian philosopher, Augustine of Hippo, said it this way: "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." Which means that we can chase all these things, but until we find the answer to what is the purpose of life, we're going to keep chasing. Some of us are chasing the bottle. Some of us are chasing drugs. Some of us are chasing pornography. Some of us are chasing romantic novels. Some of us are chasing the degrees that we can attain. or the position that we have in our company, or the great wealth that we can leave behind and brag about. Tell me you know anybody that has worked out for. In fact, some of the happiest people that I know are people that give. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's had some mentoring from David Green, the owner of Hobby Lobby. And he was telling me about how much money David Green gives away each year. It was ridiculous money. It was bougie money. It's crazy. $40 million or something like that. Or maybe it was $40,000. I can't remember. But it was a lot of money. It was more money than I could give, right? I was like, holy smokes, probably $1 million. He gives a lot of money away, and I don't know. He doesn't seem hurt about it. See, the gospel, or what we call the gospel, the good news of who Jesus is, this idea about God, that God is loving, that God loves you, that there is God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Maybe you've never heard this before, but the first thing that the gospel is, or the good news of Jesus is, it is a place of rest. Our hearts are restless until they find rest in you, meaning God. And maybe this morning you grew up or were handed down a really twisted version of God. Maybe the version of God that you were given just seemed like a lot of work. A lot of do this and don't do that. First of all, can I tell you that I'm sorry that was your experience? Because the first thing that the good news of Jesus, a relationship with God is it's rest. Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Rest. Rest, probably from this question, as we're trying to figure this out. Wrestling with the big question of life, what is this for? C.S. Lewis had another quote. He says, God cannot give us happiness and peace apart from himself, because it is not there. There is no such thing. God cannot give us happiness and peace apart from himself, because it is not there. There is no such thing. As the worship team comes up, this morning, two things. One, if you don't have this whole God thing figured out, I don't care if you've been coming here for months. Maybe there's still some questions in your heart and in your mind, things that you've wrestled with. I want to invite you over the next 7 weeks just to keep coming. Keep coming and wrestling with God here. Wrestling with these questions with your mind open that maybe there is a God. Maybe he does love me with a crazy love. Maybe there's something that I have not experienced that I'm missing when it comes to this whole God thing. We all have questions, and I want us to be able to explore God together. And the second thing is this. And after this, we're going to sing this song. I want to invite you to pray a prayer over the next 7 days. Over the next 7 days, I want you to pray this prayer. God, if you're real, make yourself real to me. God, if you really are there, just like Noah sang in his song, God, if you're there, I wish you'd answer me. I wish you'd talk to me, because I've been wondering if you're there. So this week, for the next 7 days, I want to challenge you. And even if you are a believer, right? Pray for your friends. And just pray this prayer. God, if you're real, if this is real, if you did create everything, if you do have the answer of purpose, God, would you make yourself real to me? You don't need to be convinced by some radio host or even a pastor in the church. What you need is to be encountered with the living God and let him answer you. And that would be my prayer. So let's stand as we sing this song together.